Pyromancer build that's more focused around status power. So this build is extremely powerful what it does. So we did not want to focus on the Ash and Burn. We just wanted to focus on Burn on the targets and see how powerful it can actually be in this. This is not a 4 or 5 minute run build, but it is extremely powerful and can melt elites. Very, very good at clearing out massive crowds and really powerful. Very, very good build for the end game. So I'm going to show you, of course, the gear, the mods, the weapon. Then I'm going to show you the skills in the class. I'm sure you already understand the skills, but I'll explain the rotation and all that. So as you can see, we're running the 3-piece Akari set. This one random piece of Lava Lich is not necessary. You could just have the 2 rolls that I have on it, but either way, it came with status power. So there's only one thing to this. The 3-piece Akari is so powerful that you need to have it, especially with the heat wave already being a thing that increases your anomaly power, increases the damage of the heat waves, essentially. So this is the only piece that does not have status power. You can't get status power on the Akari armor. And the only pieces with status power is the helmet and the gloves. So we had to keep those 2, and then the third one, we just kept this one. So the first thing is the mask has maxed out status power with the heat wave, of course, as well as 25% more damage to all the targets hit by heat wave. So you're going to have multiple heat waves. You're going to hit the first group of enemies, the group of enemies with the first heat wave. The second one's going to deal more damage, and the third one more damage. Then we have overheat. Paired with this, we wanted to try to have that up as much as possible. It's used as an execute to finish off enemies, and you can see tidal wave for that extra heat wave. And then we have the lower robe of the Lava Lich, or you could just have some purple ones that have the same exact rolls on this. You can see status power, and we went with Captain Hunter to melt the elites down much faster. They're the biggest problem, obviously, in most of the missions. As well as if you don't have this, it takes a lot longer to kill those guys. I feel like the only necessary mod for the phaser beam is the radius, especially since we're going with the burn route, not the ash route. And so you'll just hit a bunch of enemies with a heat wave, and then you can phaser beam, and it'll just finish them all off. It would be really powerful. So the gauntlets of the Akari, we mainly went with this, even though it has a max health roll, because it is the only other Akari piece with status power. The status power is more important. It helps a lot on the damage side of things, and you'll see why. So the first mod on this doesn't necessarily help 100%, but I found out through some testing that I think with the tier 1 that comes on it, as you can see right there, I don't think it actually works. I thought I'd tried it before on one of my previous videos and that it did, but I don't think it actually does work. I didn't see any armor proccing from this whatsoever. So I decided to switch it and keep the tier 3 on there, and you can see we also have Ride the Wave. The tier 3 can't help with the gun that we're running. It deals a decent amount of damage. So then we have our third heat wave, and then these purple boots, just status power, anomaly power, cooldown reduction. You could have cooldown reduction on this one as a purple piece instead of skills life leech, but either way, they're pretty much the same. We went with Phoenix Force and Bullet Kindling. So Phoenix Force, you're going to be able to execute a whole bunch of enemies that have burn on them with overheat. I'll explain that in a little bit. And by doing so, if they have burn on them, because you don't need the ash, you'll get a ton of anomaly power. So if you have 10 enemies that you have popped overheat on, 10 enemies are burning, you'll get 64,180 anomaly power, which is a good add-on to your damage, as well as deal 20% more damage against enemies afflicted by burn from bullet kindling. That's the main thing we're going for here. So next we're going to go over the skills. I'm sure you already know which ones we're running. We're running the 3 heat waves, the phaser beam, and then overheat. So you're going to want to do the heat wave on as many targets as you can, as most of them will just burn out from even the first one. So another thing, if you were facing an elite, you'd want to stack them. The main reason for that is that 25% more damage to enemies who've been hit with the heat wave. So you can hit them with the first one, then the second one will deal more damage, third one, so on and so forth. So you want to hit the heat waves, and then if you hit a big group of enemies with the heat wave and they start burning, you get that 20% more damage to enemies that are burning, as well as the 25% damage from the heat wave. You can phaser beam the entire group, so you have the radius increase. Extremely powerful paired together for clearing out massive groups, as well as hitting a bunch of elites at the same time too if they're grouped up. The main reason why we're running overheat is for that anomaly power stack, as well as you can pop it for survivability because it hits all the enemies in the map and it'll be a big burst heal, as well as it's an execute. So if there's a bunch of enemies or an enemy or two that's really low on health, you can pop overheat and it consumes burn. But it deals damage whenever it consumes burn. So the enemy has to be burning. You can use your gun, which I didn't go over, is the Shell Rock's Excrescence for the extra burn effect, as well as Fortress is going to give you a bunch more damage, and it also has status power on it. So you will use this after making an enemy burn either from your gun or your skills, and if they're low health, you'll just pop this and it'll execute them. Now we're going to go over the class tree, and I'll explain exactly how to run this. I'm going to show you one thing first. This node is very important. For the middle tree, this is how you're getting most of your anomaly power. So you have to spec into every magma golem class node. So that's why we have all these max health rolls, because every single one of these added up is going to give us a bunch more anomaly power. So first one we went with is the Ignite Skills cooldown, just to have Phaser Beam come back faster and Heat Wave, more cooldowns, and then 5% more damage to enemies with burn. So we have Bullet Kindling for the 20%, there's 5 more on that. Then we have Burn Afflicted on enemies deals 20% more damage, extremely effective because we have a lot of status power. Then we have increased damage by 20% against enemies below 30% health. So this is extremely powerful paired with that Overheat Execute. So whenever an enemy is burning, they're very low health, and you want to just finish them off, even if they're elite, because you have that 25% damage to elites as well. You'll be able to pop this, and it will deal a load more damage to finish them off. And we have Anomaly Power, and then also the other Burn Afflict on enemies deals 20% more damage. We have Weapon Damage and Anomaly Power. Burn Afflicted lasts longer. I felt like this was the better option than that one. You can pick that one if you'd like to. And then Skill Leech, just because we have to. Double Skill Leech, that's helpful, not necessary, but you have to pick it. And then 15% more damage again. So we have the 20% from here, 20% from the Bullet Kindling mod. And then we have Reduce Ignite Skills cooldown, and then this one. This is very important since it's up all the time. It lasts for 10 seconds. Your skills come back faster than that. So you will get that free 45% resistance piercing for 10 seconds all the time. Very, very powerful. I tried it without this, tried to go some other routes. I felt like this one was the best one. It helped you deal the absolute most amount of damage, especially from the heat waves. They are very, very powerful. So I'm going to show you how you would use this build in Frontline. I feel like the first section of this is all I'm really going to do. It shows off the best amount of massive groups of enemies, as well as a bunch of elites that you can kill really, really quick. I'll be able to show you on this first group. You just want to try to heat wave as many of them as you can get, and then Phaser Beam right in the middle of them. Any ones that are low like that, you can execute them. And you want to get up on the group again. And then, boom. If you start to get low on health, pop this. And you can see that's going to absolutely destroy them because of the burn. You see that is extremely, extremely powerful. So I'm going to show you mainly what this will do on some elites. I'm trying not to kill them so we can group them up a little bit better. I can show you individually on one fire themselves. So we'll try to do it to this guy. You can see he's already dead. The cremator's already dead. So it does a whole bunch of damage. You can just see his health just ticking away. Finish him off. I'm able to show you on this one here too, just in case you didn't get a good perspective from it. So you've seen this was the first one I initially started attacking, and it just burns straight through him. Very, very powerful. And you can see also what you could do with your gun. You're going to just try to proc some of the overheat anomaly power, and then the massive amount of damage the heat wave does with this burn setup. Yeah, you can see it's extremely powerful at wiping out massive groups. You have a decent amount of weapon damage and a ton of burn. Just the status effect on them alone is going to do insane amounts of damage. Another thing I do sometimes, just to make the enemies stop moving for a second, you can pop the overheat just to interrupt them. And you back up, let them group up, boom. Of course, there's many ways that you could do this much faster than what I'm doing. But I'm just trying to show off some numbers, get some guys grouped up. You can see that was one of the executes that you can do there with overheat, just by using the gun, not anything else. Execute. Then we can apply burn back with this. You can see it does a ton of damage. And just the burn will finish those guys off. It's extremely easy to use too. Like, this build is very easy to use. You just gotta kind of figure out when to use cover and when not. You can be that guy who focuses down elites really fast. Phaser beam paired with the 3 heat waves is just extremely powerful. And this is what I mean by knowing when to use cover and when not. So you didn't even have to look at them. Another good example of how to use overheat as more of a heal. If you're in a group of enemies that are all trying to push up towards you, you start taking lots of damage, you just pop this, you see it's a burst heal. Kind of interrupts them, gives you a chance to apply some burn, let your skill life leech do its thing, then wipe out a group. Execute, didn't even execute him. I think the burn wore off early. By the way, you can see very powerful for what it is. Just only burn and just absolutely melts. You can see you give a decent amount of damage from the multiplicative buffs to the enemies there that are burning. You can get enemies through walls with this a lot. Of course, everybody loves the snipers in this game. Probably gonna get hit by him again. You can just see the heat wave alone is just wrecking this dude. I like to use my gun in between using the heat waves. It kind of staggers them a little bit whenever they have the burn first applied to them. A little helpful tooltip, I guess. See, that's not high damage numbers really, but you can see he's dying pretty quick from it. Here's a perfect representation. Two elites paired together, go through them both, just like that. Knock him out of cover, just to keep him from shooting at me. Yeah. I would go further in the video. You can see how much damage it already does. But either way, I just wanted to represent it in some combat gameplay. Of course, it could have been done much faster than what I was doing. I just wanted to show off some numbers and grouping up a lot of enemies and just kind of show it off a little bit. It's damaged, so and somewhat other stuff. Alright guys, if you guys liked the video, please hit that like button and subscribe for more Outriders content, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you.